I want to welcome Mr. Antonio Knox to my show. He's the owner of One Community Insurance Agency, LLC. Mr. Knox, I want to thank you so much for allowing me to come here to interview you. And I'm very interested in hearing your story from where you were to how you got to where you are now. So can you tell the viewers a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
Absolutely. Well, Joe, first of all, I'd like to start off by thanking you for creating this platform for small business owners. And as a small business owner, you don't know how much this means to us as far as preaching our message and getting out there to the people that we need. So thank you. Really appreciate that.
Oh, absolutely.
And so who am I? My name is Antonio Knox. I was born here in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Went to Evanport School, went to Roslyn Road, went to Northwestern, wrestled in high school and also wrestled in college. I think wrestling really gave me the tenacity to start my business and to persevere through the things that I think are necessary to be successful in business. Went to college, graduated from the University of South Carolina upstate with a business degree, concentration in marketing. Family of 11, huge family, a lot of brothers and sisters, a lot of nieces and nephews, one of those big Southern blended family.
Right.
And myself, I have 4 sons, married. I'm going on 9 years, been married. And got Xander, Maxwell, AJ, and Langston. So,
yeah. Sound like a music group.
It is. We'll turn to the Jackson 4.
Jackson 4.
Yeah. Knox 4s.
The Knox 4.
Yeah.
There you go.
There we go.
Well, that's good, man. So you said you wrestled in high school and college.
Yes.
Oh, wow. So what was that like?
Man, I really contribute me wrestling to a lot of my success because just practice of wrestling, the discipline of wrestling, and the competition of that sport, which I tell people, I did that sport not knowing what I really was gonna get out of it. And now in my adult life and looking back on what that sport taught me, like discipline and just a great work ethic. That's literally, I think in my opinion, unmatched when it comes to wrestling in high school and also taking it further wrestling in college where you just have to be very serious about it where it's like you're losing weight and you got a strict diet and you competing against somebody who that if you're not up to par it's it's going to show very quickly. And I think that's the same notation when you run a business whereas like if you're not doing certain things right, like it can very well show very quickly. So
Right. And so transitioning from your wrestling career in high school and college to what you do now, tell me a little bit about One Community Insurance LLC. What's up with your business there? What do you do with
what I do? That's a great question. And it's funny that you asked. What I do now, had someone told me in the beginning, this is what I've been doing now and this is what I need to do, I probably would not have gone down this path, in which I'm a firm believer that there's a healthy level of ignorance of not knowing exactly what the path is. Because like I think we know the path, like we won't take it, or we'll say that I can't do it. So One Community Insurance is a local agency that specializes in many different lines of business, whether it's Medicare, Medicare Advantage Plan, Med Sup Plan, whether it's dental insurance, vision insurance, group plan, small group, large group, individual health insurance plans, life insurance, term, whole, IUL. And it's very interesting how I got those many legs under my business. I just kept on wanting to add value so that no matter who I sit down with, there's going to be something of value that I can add, something from an educational standpoint that I can teach because I do so many different things, whereas I can explain to you the cause and effects of how things are going to carry you on. Whether if you're somebody that's younger and you work in your job to offer you insurance, I got a solution for you. Whereas if you're someone who's senior, you pay your dues to society, you work, and now like you about to transition into Medicare, turning 65, I can have a great conversation with you, help you to understand your Part A and your Part B, and tell you your next steps, whether it's a Medicare Advantage plan, Med Sup, or like even if you want to stay on your Medicare plan. Whereas I understand all of that, and I think that's a value add that uniquely my agency adds to my many clients.
Right. Okay, great. Now, I'm curious, what made you choose this type of business? Was there some kind of incident or something that happened in your life that made you think, I got to get into this insurance business to help save some of these folks, if a family member passes away, help them out, what was it that made you choose this type of business?
Now, that's a great question. Actually, I think the business chose me. After I graduated college, I always wanted to own my own business, just never really knew what it looked like. And I think now that we live in a time where business owners is very popular and stuff like that. But there's one event that did happen in my life that just kind of really sat in my head for us. My mother passing on February the 14th in 2016. I apologize. And, just prior to her passing, me and my sister taking care of her affairs, paying her necessary bills, and it's interesting to say that one of those bills that she wanted us to make sure that was paid was a life insurance premium.
Right.
And I think that life insurance is one of those intangible products, whereas you don't see the benefit until you receive the benefit.
Exactly.
And even though prior to her transitioning, the last 3-4 years of her life, just paying a premium, just because it just was something that she wanted us to do. And when she finally did transition back in 2016, and just looking back at that landscape, whereas I'm just recently married, we just bought a home, I just had my second child, and everything is just getting started off with me. And I know my mother that she wanted a burial, and not really thinking about it. The insurance company sent us a check where it was that was one less thing that we had to think about. Right. It's when we went to the funeral home, we was able to come in there with a level of confidence, with a level of no stress in terms of my mother's going, can I get her back? Wish it could. But going into that situation without having that burden of how I want to pay for it, she thought about us after she left, and it was just a beautiful gift to kind of receive, and kind of it really sunk in. Right. Where it's that whole circle was wow, she knew this moment was gonna come. And I think that most people don't realize death or transition until they lose somebody very close to them. And then it just kind of really sinks in. Right. Where it's I'm not gonna be here forever. So her knowing that, and getting that check from the insurance carrier, going to the funeral home, picking out a nice pretty pink casket, and just being able to pick out things and not worrying about how they're gonna get paid for it, because the insurance company, because my mother already kept her policy active. And it was, even though I love my mother to life in itself, going through that whole process, knew that she thought about that, because even though I'm extremely educated, right? I just never experienced that until you experience that. So it was a level of growth, whereas even after she was gone, she still taught me a lesson, if that makes sense.
No, I totally understand. And while you were speaking about that, that's just one thing that I was thinking about, in our community especially. We don't think about that time coming, and this is part of that, creating that generational wealth.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Your mom thought enough to leave you with something to help out no one's stress. And a lot of times in our community, someone passes away, we don't have that coverage. And it takes a week or two just to figure out how we're going to pay for it. Instead of you just keeping your policy active or having a policy altogether, that's just one thing that alleviates a lot of stress. And I don't understand sometimes why we don't do that sometimes. But it's great that your mom had that set up in place for you all, and that you were able to get all that stuff stress free, go through there, knock everything out, and just get it done for her. Absolutely. That was great. I know your mom was one of the driving forces for you to get your business started, as you stated. But what was your greatest fear, or did you have any fears starting your business? Even though you saw the vision to do it, and you were inspired by your mom, did you have any fears outside of that?
That's a great question. And one of my first mentors, I met him when I was 14 years old. And I'm sure if you don't mind me using his name is Earl B. Hunter. Great guy, and just, he was my first representation of something different, something outside of the cookie cutter norm in terms of, like having a job where it's like I just saw him actually like the first couple of years. I didn't know exactly what he did because he worked for himself, in which that's a different look in terms of having a job, which, either or isn't better than the other one, but he was the first person that I just saw that just moved in a way and gave back to the community in a way, whereas he saw an opportunity and he saw something that needed to be done and he did it. And that was always empowering for me, whereas, seeing him travel and start the mini business that he did, that helped me to have something to reflect on and to understand that it's a process and don't get over my heels and like make knee-jerk relationships, reactions. So seeing somebody that came before me, somebody that I know, like, and trust and totally respect, like I called him plenty of times and got like advice where I needed it at that moment. That really helped me just stay in line, trust the process. So, him feeding into me, not telling me what to do, but answering questions when they needed answering. Because it's funny now, I look back at a lot of things that he very carefully told me. Whereas I think he knew a lot of questions I was going to ask, and he let me come to the conclusion on my own. Which now looking back, I appreciate that because he never told me what to do. And I think as anybody, especially like as like a young man growing up, even if somebody tell you the right thing what to do for whatever reason, is this natural rebellion come up. It's like, why are you telling me what to do? And so. And now looking back, like he never told me what to do. He just kind of showed it to me, and I was like, okay, wow.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I hear all the passion and the energy in you speaking. And I'm curious, where do you get your entrepreneurial spirit? Were your parents entrepreneurs, or where did your entrepreneurial spirit come from?
I mean, honestly, I read a whole lot of books, right? So. I read a lot of books. I am knowledge hungry. In that aspect, I'm almost never satisfied. So like I read anything from Entrepreneur from Dummies. It's a book named that. And I read that book. I read like hundreds of books, a lot of motivational books. And I think having a college degree really set the stage for me to be curious and be open, and gave me the opportunity to be around, be around a lot of cultures from around the world. And so it just allowed me to create a bigger picture. But to say where I get my entrepreneurial spirit from, that's a tough question. Like I think just looking out into my community and seeing opportunity and not waiting for somebody to come and serve those opportunities. Being that change that I want to see, and not waiting for something, someone, some entity to come out there.
So basically, you just took action on your thoughts and your desires and your dreams. You just and that's what it takes. You just have to take action in order for you to move from point A to point B. So that's great, man. That's really good. So, with you taking action to get to where you are now, what is your definition of success?
My definition of success is never quitting. I think whenever you come to a conclusion to say, I'm going to do this right here, in that very moment you are successful. To think is something that you arrive to, you never really arrive to where you think you should or where you're going. Because it's always going to be a next. There's always going to be a new problem to solve. But success is whenever you can help people outside of yourself. That's successful. And whether you do it on a big corporate level where you got a nice fancy office at the top of the latest and the greatest skyscraper, to whether or not if you some local community organizer that get things done on the ground, to me both of those two people in my eyes are extremely successful.
Right. And you coming from where you were to where you are now, and being as successful as your business is, what sacrifices along the way for someone that's probably thinking about or wanting to get into the insurance business? In your words, I'm sure going to inspire them. What are some of the sacrifices that you had to make, or somebody may have to look at to say, okay, well, I may have to do the same thing, or may have to go down that same path? What are some of the sacrifices you had to make to become as successful as you are now?
I think one thing that I think any business owners can use for it's like arriving and going along that path is having delayed gratification. Having delayed gratification. Don't feel like you are owed something, or feel like that you're not here because you don't have certain things, you don't have a certain car, you don't have a certain watch, Rolex. I'm not, against all of that. It's great. It has value, superficial value.
Right.
But
it's not over. Success is not overnight.
It's not overnight. It's not overnight. Like I've been in this industry for going on 6 years. I started out making hundreds of calls every day, in which that, they call that smile and dial.
Oh yeah.
Smile and dial, picking up, calling. I door knock around North and South Carolina, 2-3 hours out from my home. Literally door knocking, setting appointments and door knockings. And, that's part of the process where a lot of people, quite frankly, frightened to kind of do it. Because I was at first, I was like, man, I'm not going out, in some new community and some new zip codes and door knocking, because I set some appointments the day before, because it's just frightening. Like it's just, it's almost like public speaking for the first time, but you going up to somebody's door that you don't even know, or that you just met the day before, whereas you scheduled appointments and knocking on the door. And I made it out of game, because sometimes people will look through their blinds and they saw me, but they don't open the door. But I never got discouraged or never took it personal, whereas it just only allowed me to build calluses, to make it out a fun game. Like during that time, people don't want to talk to insurances, like they come out and sometimes they have a hard day at work, and come out reflecting their day at work on me, and me just sitting there and bringing them from that moment, may say something, make them laugh, and say, hey, I'm here to help. I'm here to help. And I get the human experience, especially that moment. Like door knocking really gave me a lot of calluses. To be able to push through and build what I have now.
Right, exactly. and having that mindset of that delayed or deferred gratification really helps. Like you said earlier, success is not overnight, and that's that fear or that drive to have $1 million the very next day that you have your business started. That definitely gets a lot of people, and a lot of us just don't understand that. You gotta take time, you gotta get out there and do the legwork in order to get where you are. Some of these big companies nowadays, they started out with nothing, and it took maybe take them 10-15 years to really get their name out, or longer, just to get their names out there, just to to move things ahead. With those sacrifices that you've experienced, that come about along the way to get to where you are, did you ever experience any failures or any setbacks in starting your business that maybe someone could learn from if they're thinking about getting into this type of business?
I think it's impossible not to experience any failures, and which I don't like that word, because it has like a negative connotation, right? Like it has like, it's over, you fail. Right. I have failed forward hundreds of times. Awesome. Which allowed me to get more information, more data on what not to do. Right.
I like that though. Fail forward.
Fail forward. So like, I don't look at it as failing. I look at it as finding a way how not to get to where I gotta go. But still, in that way, there's some data and information that I did not have prior to that experience that I could take from it and move it forward and just get me that much closer, because I experienced that. Like, I think a lot of people, they try to go around the failing process, right? They try to go around unscathed or just unblemished. And I don't think it's a good thing.
Right.
Because I think if you were to get everything that you wanted very quickly, skipping the middle process, like the whole process, you don't know how to keep it.
Right. That's where you learn.
That's what you learn.
Yeah.
So like, I love the process.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, with building everything as successful as you are, had you had to deal with any adversity or any, when I mean by adversity, people not believing in you or saying, hey, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Why would you want to start a type of business like that?
Yeah.
And you don't know nothing about insurance. What have you ever had to deal with anything like that? And if you had, how did you get around all that stuff to stay successful?
I don't think you get around that type of adversity because people can't see what you see. And I will say, just make sure to continue to make your belief bigger than any naysayer or any doubter, and which I think is human. For us, like no one never seen me start an insurance agency. Mm-hmm. So like to have the expectation for me to convince them or for them to see what I see, I learned early on I cannot put my faith in what other people think I can
Absolutely.
and can't do. So
Absolutely.
I'm extremely faithful because the things that I know that I see and my conviction is unwavering.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And jumping back into your business, what are some of your company's goals? What are some of your goals for your business?
Great question. Goals is I think it's very important to educate people first. Educate people first. And one thing that I always like to say is meet people where they are. Mm-hmm. Meet people where they are. So my goal is to first, I'm not a transactional type of business mm-hmm. where I'm only looking to retain clients at whatever cost.
Right.
Granted, I am growing my business, but I think to grow a successful business is to nurture those prospects that you have just so that they can know what they have mm-hmm. and understanding what they have. So mm-hmm. I do a lot of stuff in the community, whereas vendor events with North Central Family Medical Center with,
mm-hmm.
Mr. Ernest Brown, which I see everywhere, which he just... he motivates me, you know what I'm saying? Like I see him everywhere, and like for a guy who's been in business for 30 plus years, that's a huge pillar in his community, and which I don't know his age, but like he's out there with me, mm-hmm. and like I see him out there, growing his business, and despite being in business for 30 plus years, he can easily be somewhere playing golf with a nice cigar in his mouth, which I'm sure you probably do every now and then, but like I see him on the ground, in which as a younger entrepreneur, that's very motivational to see. So I appreciate people like him out there still doing it.
Oh wow, yeah. He's out there killing it, man.
Yeah.
I've had the opportunity to meet him, a few times mm-hmm. and talk to him, sit with him, and but yeah, he's out there killing it, and
mm-hmm.
just like you're doing, you're out there, knocking it down, man. Just doing your thing. With all the different facets of insurance and the different, I'm assuming things change all the time. So you got to keep up with the latest this or whatever comes out and all these things. How do you generate new ideas for your business to help market your business? Or do you keep everything pretty much the same? Or do you come up with new ways to invent the wheel to say, hey, this is One Community Insurance? How do you do that?
Well, I think that there's many different ways that you can go out to retain a client, whether it's internet advertising, whether it's social media, Google, stuff like that. So like I do all of those things. Like mm-hmm. I think I will not be in business if I still don't do those things, because it's an avenue for me to reach potential new clients. And so like as a business owner, we all have a formula, mm-hmm. Which I think it changes and it elevates as time changes, because mm-hmm. Social media marketing right now is probably bigger than it has ever been, because it's kind of new, and I don't market in yellow pages. I guess if I'm like responding, because yellow pages, like if I was in the 90s, and we are in the 90s, the yellow page will be something that I will market towards. But being that business, marketing, advertisement evolve. But one thing that I do a lot of, I like to do a lot of community vendor events. That way people get to see me. I get to talk with people and meet people where they are, and make a lot of new friends, and people, you know, usually come away with conversations like, wow, like, I didn't know that One Community Insurance does that or does this right here, or, you know, and my favorite is like, like I never heard of One Community Insurance. Okay, great. And then I tell them who I am. I tell them I'm a local agent. I tell them that I'm a local agency located here on Main Street. And it's a beautiful opportunity to introduce myself as the principal agent and also the owner of One Community Insurance. So vendor events, I love. Even in summertime, like I love bringing my truck. I got my tent, I got my chairs, I got my lawn chair. I'm ready. I got my cards, I got my water.
Right.
You know, I'm ready. Bring it on. Yeah. Go around, shake everybody's hand.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely, absolutely, man. And I know you talked about social media and your vendor events. Is there any other ways that you market your business, like to let the viewers know how to get in contact with you? Any ways, other ways that you market your business?
Well, during COVID, I actually had to evolve very quickly, either evolve or go out of business.
Right.
In which I found this creative way to generate new leads outside of my territory, actually outside of the state.
Okay.
Up the East Coast, where it's like during COVID, most of my clients came outside of Rock Hill, outside of South Carolina. So I started getting clients in North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Tennessee, Alabama, and Texas, due to some creative marketing that I had to be open for, and also that I had to take advantage of it right then and right there.
Right.
Because the world was changing very fast, and it's like you don't have a lot of time to really contemplate if something's going to work or not. You just have to do and get some data from that. And fortunately for me, that was like the right place, the right time, because I started closing deals. Like I remember, like I got this lead from a lady. She was in Houston, Texas, and we had an appointment set up because the way I had to set it up. And she called me. I called her for the appointment. It was like 12 o'clock. And she was like, I'm glad you called. I'm literally driving down the highway. Hold on 1 second. I'm about to pull over so that I can complete this interview, in which that was a life insurance appointment. She pulled over from the highway. Long story short, within 20, 30 minutes, she had a policy. She signed it on her phone. Her policy became active that next day. She was approved right then on the spot.
Wow.
With technology. So even though that I'm here in Rock Hill, I was still getting business in a whole other state in Houston, Texas, with a lady pulling over. And with technology, especially like a lot of carriers got a lot of great ways, instant ways. And like obviously this lady, like I think she experienced some death very close to her. And so like it was at the top of her mind, at the top of her heart. And further ado, I was right there, joining on the spot. Within 30, 45 minutes later, she had her a policy. She was approved for it. It went active the next day. She got in the mail about 7-10 business days.
Wow.
So I watched and rinse and repeat that process several times because the world was changed. So I had to change.
You had to change. Absolutely, absolutely. And how do you plan on growing or scaling your business from where it is now to where you want it to maybe be 5 years from now? Well,
one thing I did, or I still constantly do shy away from, is growing a team.
Okay.
In which I think that I'm going to have to grow a team sooner than later. But to say this, I'm ready to grow a team. Like I became the leader that I know that a team will need so that they can be successful. So I got many tools, many avenues whether it's life insurance, whether it's Medicare, whether it's group insurance, whether it's small group, whether it's individual. I have took the time to go out there to become knowledgeable of those different sectors. And so now, growing the team now, I don't just have a one-trick pony to give people. I have options, and I can talk from it from a standpoint of I'm here to support you, not in only one or two or three ways, and showing you how beautiful this industry can be. And I think being a broker, a non-captive broker, it gives me the opportunity to see the industry for what it is and for the opportunities that it has for someone who's ambitious and who's ready to help people. Like I tell people, just be ambitious and ready to help people, and everything else will fall in line.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. Well, listen, man, I want to thank you again so much for taking the time to sit down with me. I know you're a very busy person. I know you're on your phone a lot when I was here setting up the thing for the interview, whether it was business, personal, but I could tell that you're a very busy type guy, you know, especially running your business. With that, I know that your words are going to inspire someone that's maybe looking to get into this type business or any business that they want to run, something that they may have been thinking about for a long time. Say, hey, I don't know, man, I'm scared. And then just hearing what you've had to say, your story, all your successes, some of the little things that you've had to deal with, it might probably going to motivate them to get out there and just take that action to do that. So with that, I want to ask you, how can the viewers contact you if they want to book an appointment with you? What are the different ways that people can get in contact with you to ask you more about your business, to throw you some business your way?
Absolutely. No, that's a great question. So you can visit me on my website, which is www.onecommunityinsurance.com. Again, www.community, spell it out completely, insurance.com. On my website, there's a form that you can just fill out, like you want like a quick quote, or like you want to set a schedule with me. You fill that information out. I will reach back out to you. If it's before 3 o'clock, I can probably reach back out to you that same day. But if it's after 3 o'clock, definitely I'll be reaching out to you first thing that morning. Or call me directly at 803-487-0477. Call me, shoot me a text message. I'm always welcome those. And as you said, Joe, I'm always on the phone, in which I love to, ground those new calls. And also you can email me at Knox, Alpha Knox, Knox at onecommunityinsurance.com. Again, email is Alpha Knox, Knox at onecommunityinsurance.com.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I'm glad you got all that information out there, man. But I'm not going to take any more of your time up. I'm going to let you get back to your beautiful family. And again, thank you so much for allowing me to do this. I just still have to reiterate, as a small business owner, for you to have this space created to come allow us to elevate our brand. Words really don't express what that means. So now, thank you for interviewing me and highlighting my company and what we have going on. So thank you.